Yeah,
We're doing it.
I'm ready.
We are.
I'm
Wow.
starving. I can't, and I was waiting to eat until after we were done.
You didn't reaffirm. I can't even think of the name of it because I never asked for it. Permission to fuck? What's that? Consent. I never.
Hello, Internet. I'm Hugo.
I'm Jake. We're professionals.
And this is Unpopular Culture. And today we're talking about many things, and trust me, none of them are Doctor Who related. So don't worry if you're one of those people who's been.
Tangential Marvel too. No DC. Man, well,
You know what? I might have something to talk about at the end briefly, if you remind me. But if you don't remind me, it won't be there. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Anyway, today we're talking about many things. Firstly, Deadpool is returning to a small screen near you, as opposed to the big one, I guess. That wasn't a very smooth transition, but you get the idea.
The big screen that's kind of a drive.
Sure. So Deadpool's coming back to TV. We'll talk about that. Netflix announced their new original series, and that's based on a game and book series many of you may enjoy.
What kind of series? An allerginal?
Did I say an allerginal?
An allerginal series.
Don't worry, original. See, you're gonna have a great time finding maybe stock music to put over this part. You're gonna have to find a long track on this one. X-Files came back a couple years ago for a limited.
Wait, you didn't even say what the original series. Witcher.
Oh, it's a tease. They were supposed to be titillated.
Oh, well, X-Files is coming back.
Yeah, X-Files got a
Season
limited
11.
series last year. Chris Carter's still in charge. I'll talk about why that's dumb. It's coming back for an 11th season. James McAvoy, maybe not returning for the next X-Men movie, which means we'll get yet another Professor X, and then finally, we'll talk about the Star Trek Discovery trailer. And if I remember, maybe we'll talk about the DC thing at the end, but I don't want to promise, because I don't know if I'm going to remember. So, firstly, Deadpool TV Show. Deadpool, very successful film, came out last year, or was it the year before at this point? God, I'm so not keeping track of time at this point. Obviously, Ryan Reynolds starred in that, and it was very successful. So FXX of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fame, and Donald Glover of Atlanta music career, Community, and basically Jack of all trades fame is going to be making that with, I want to say, the same person who worked on Atlanta with him. Jake, have you seen Atlanta yet? His original FXX series?
No.
No, you haven't?
I haven't seen it. I'm no assistance here.
I saw the first episode of Atlanta, and I enjoyed it. I'll catch up on it.
I hear it is very good.
But I've heard it's good.
I've heard very positive things.
And obviously, you've seen him in something. If you haven't seen his music, doesn't he call himself Childish Gambino?
Is so good. Sweatshirt Man, get you some. The year 3000 or something else it's called. His videos too are really, really awesome. And Donald Glover's just a nice dude.
Sure.
He's not about the bitches and hoes. He actually this is the only thing I have to offer to the conversation, really. He was talking just about how he got like dissed by I can't remember the artist. It's another rapper. He got dissed kind of. It was like a compliment. Like the guy said, Childish Gambino just wishes he could be me, but secretly I wish I could be him. And then Gambino basically replied like, it was kind of weird because it was a diss, but it was also like a compliment. And he's like, would never have the confidence to say anything like that. And he's just like he's just really conserved little guy, and then he's I don't know. Also, he's good looking. What happened? He wasn't good looking when Community started, and now all of a sudden it's like, look at Donald Glover. All right, good for you.
I think what happened is, you know the movie Twins, where they put all the good stuff into Arnold Schwarzenegger and all the crap gets put into Danny DeVito, so you have twins, but one's good and one's evil. Somewhere out there, there's a worthless Danny DeVito version of him, because he just knows how to do fucking everything and succeed at it. He says, I think I read an interview a while back where he says he only gets like 3 or 4 hours night sleep, and like he's good to go. He's just on it 21 hours a day, I guess.
You and I are sort of creatives. I guess we're not like artists or anything. We certainly don't have a level of skill that most people have. But we're gonna improv and we're funny. And okay, this takes skill. Talking takes skill. But holy shit, does that like the level of skill and proficiency and just intellect and introspection. I can't even, and not just Donald Glover. Anyone that does like music or art, I envy those people, and probably also I don't because they usually kill themselves.
Yeah,
like that guy the other day killed himself. That Soundgarden and I can't remember his name. Chris.
I know who you're talking about.
I'm gonna get destroyed in the comments now. He's really good. Go listen to Soundgarden.
I liked because same day Roger Ailes died, the disgraced former head of Fox News who got ousted over sexual assault stuff. He died the same day, and every thread about him dying I saw the top comment was like R.I.P. Chris, whatever his name was.
Yeah. Chris Cornell? Does that sound right?
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, I did it. I think I did it. I saw an amazing tweet that like every woman at Fox News is wearing their skirt at half mast today. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Moving on to the thing we were talking about.
Yeah, so look out for the new Deadpool show. There's not a lot of details right now. No idea who's going to play Deadpool or anything, though if Ryan Reynolds wanted to be a super bro, he could do it just for funsies. And normally I would say that as a joke, but if there's any actor out there who I think would play Deadpool just because they think it's fun, it's Ryan Reynolds. He has enough money from that movie, I'd assume, at this point. But yeah, keep an eye out for that in FXX, and we'll talk about that as probably trailers and stuff come out. Because I like Deadpool. I get it. It's cringy sometimes, but there's enough fun where I enjoy it. So, next, just like Jake didn't have a whole lot to say about this first thing, I don't have a lot to say about this, because I'm going to come right out and say I've never played the Witcher games. I've heard they're excellent. Jake raves about the third one and how I need to get it constantly.
He will. When he gets it, okay, the same thing happened with Zelda, the Breath of the Wild, the new one. And I was like, he's like, I don't know if I want to buy a Switch just yet. And I got one kind of impulsy because I saw it on sale on Amazon for like a second. And I was like, well, I got the money right now. We just got paid. Okay, I'm doing it. And I just did it. And I don't regret it at all because Zelda's amazing. And I was raving about Zelda to Hugo. A couple months go by and he's walking in the store and there's one left in the store.
Yeah.
So he tweets me a picture. He texts me. He has my number, believe it or not. And he texts me a picture of it. And I just typed, do it. And he did it. And this is the first time I've talked to him since, actually. He's been gone for 2 weeks, and he's played the shit out of that game because it's beautiful.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I don't know. I don't want to talk about Zelda right now, though. Because
I know, I'm just saying, it's as good as Zelda in a very different way, but it's as good as Zelda.
If you say so, I believe you.
The experience, man. Like, some games do this thing where it's too cinematic or too not cinematic. Like, Skyrim, I think, is a really fantastic fantasy game, if simple. But it doesn't have any of that cinematic feel. Like all the big moments, like I chose to go with the fucking Legion or whatever. It doesn't matter. It never feels like a big deal in Skyrim. Everything in this feels like it's like a big moment when you do stuff. Even if it's just like a side mission, it feels like it's important. And Geralt, the protagonist, I have all the Witchers. I don't think a lot of people like the first one, and I get it. It's good, like canon wise, but it's so dated at this point. It's a rough get through. But Witcher 2 holds up. Witcher 3 is obviously, I think most people who've played it just love the shit out of it. And I haven't actually beaten it, but I have all the DLCs and stuff, and I mean to. I don't put a lot of time into video games like I used to, and I wish I did. But I'm gonna try though. I'm trying to be a Renaissance man this year and get on, do all the things I always think I want to do instead of just wasting time. But I don't know. Saying all that, I love The Witcher. I do not know how I feel about a TV series.
Well, it's based on a series of books, so it's not like you can say the narrative's too thin to put on screen, and Game of Thrones is super popular.
Part of the thing about Witcher that makes it good, while the story is obviously there, like you kind of... Because you play the role, it is a voiced protagonist, which is weird for an RPG nowadays, like a fully voiced protagonist. and not like a Mass Effect protagonist where it's pretty bleh. He's got his own personality, but the way the game plays, you're just so engrossed by the character. I feel like you'd be missing out a little bit. And like a book is a different experience because it's like theater of the mind, you're kind of in it. But I don't know if I would sit there and watch a series. It could be amazing. Is it live action or animated?
Live action, as far as I understand right now.
That's scary too because it's got to be a really good actor.
Well,
and the guy's voice is going to be different, and it's dangerous. It's. I'm trying to think of another character that's iconic like that. Like they're doing a Last of Us movie, right?
That was I don't know if it's still on the table. I know they were talking about doing it at one point.
I just think if you lose the voices, like, because those people are. It's okay. Imagine they had Conroy Batman, and that's all we ever had, and then they put Batman on the screen. You know what I mean? Like it's just it almost feels weird. As when there's like when Val Kilmer's Batman, you're like, why is Val Kilmer there?
Sure.
Or George Clooney.
I get it.
I don't know. It would take me out.
I could say there's a parallel I could draw. Let's say the cartoon Avatar: The Last Airbender. The film helmed by the unstoppable M. Night Shyamalan. The movie itself was shit, but even if the movie was like good, yeah, I get it. It would take you out that the voices are different when you've heard the voices so often from a certain people. I get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I will check it out, no matter what. But kind of work. But the thing is, the adventures and the mythology, it's kind of got a standard mythology of medieval stuff. Like there's dragons and there's knights and there's warring kingdoms and stuff. Got a little Game of Thrones stuff going on because there's sex, there's nudity, there's adult themes. But it also has like Van Helsing-esque stuff. Like there's demons and liches, and the bestiary is deep, and like it's monster huntery, and it's got a lot of really, really interesting stuff. So I think there's enough there to be good, but I don't know if players of the game will like it. I think people will like it.
I think it'll be popular, at least to an extent.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like the Walking Dead sort of fracture between I'm a book person or I'm a show person.
Now it could split technically three ways. Now you could be a show person, a book person, or a video game person.
Well, I think the video games and the books people are pretty cool. Like Star Wars games and book people are pretty much the same.
Okay.
Movie people, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, but I think that's what they're going for. I think they're going for their version of Game of Thrones. I don't know. A lot of Netflix shows are good. There are some bad ones, so we'll see. That's a pretty big undertaking. They're also doing, this is unrelated, did you see they're doing a Dark Crystal show?
I did not. But, wait, I saw it on Twitter. I saw someone say Dark Crystal's coming back, and it registered, and then I stopped because I didn't really watch it as a kid.
I didn't. I was more a Labyrinth person. I guess I got to sit down and rewatch Dark Crystal because I don't even. I know I watched it as a kid, but I don't remember the plot. But I love Jim Henson and his studios, and he was still helming it and alive when that was made, and his studio's back and doing all the puppets in the show. So I'm interested to see how that's improved over the last 20 or so years, because I know like Sesame Street is still on the air and their workshop is open all the time, but this is going to be a larger budget thing they're going to be able to put money into and be able to design puppets they want to design, and I think that'll be cool. So Netflix making some choices that would never come out of even an HBO or a Showtime. Like HBO and Showtime will take some risks, but even I can't see them going, let's do a fantasy series with puppets. Like that's ballsy. So I applaud Netflix for thinking outside the box on that one. Although, let's be real, it was probably less thinking outside the box and more they found out, oh shit, people among this demographic really, really like to watch Labyrinth and The Dark Crystal and fantasy shows. Maybe if we brought The Dark Crystal, I'm sure it was a demographic-based analytical decision, but still, it's not a decision you would get out of a network. So that's interesting. But
yeah, I don't know. I think TV is getting to a point where they expect more from themselves, and that's really fantastic.
Yeah.
And I just think the talent pool is getting bigger anyways, because like media used to be like, you gotta go out to Hollywood and get your dreams, kid. But now it's like I can make something in like Punxsutawney on my like. Did you see that? There's this Twitter kid going around, or maybe he was Instagram or whatever. He's making music videos and he's editing them like it like jumps around and he's using different editing styles to move around. This black kid, and he like lip syncs the songs. It's really fantastic. He's super talented.
No, I haven't seen
And it's gone viral really recently. And I don't know, just stuff like that. Like creative people have access to all the things filmmakers have access to now. So you're learning at a younger age. Like people are really learning to write better. Just like the internet's making people more creative and crazy, but definitely creative. So I think we just have a bigger pool of people doing cool shit. And someone's like, I want to make Dark Crystal again. You remember that when we were kids? And now they're old enough and they're like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And since we have such a diverse, open talent pool, let's bring back the same showrunner and creator of X-Files.
I don't like X-Files. I say it.
Chris Carter. Okay.
I don't like X-Files because it Dragon Ball Z's you.
In what way? Are you talking about the constant escalation and then no resolution?
It's always, there's something always there. Always there. But they never... It's like edging for 11 seasons.
I agree. I'm not a big fan of the alien ongoing plot conspiracy arc of X-Files, which see, you say that's the whole point of the show, but that's something someone who's never seen the show says. The intro to every season, the conclusion, and generally one or two random ones throughout the season, which are 20 episodes long, mind you, are alien-based or directly tied into the big conspiracy. Those are my least favorite. And Chris Carter, for the better part of 20 fucking years, has been stringing everyone along. And then finally, after the show was canceled in the 90s, or no, early 2000s it was canceled, on a cliffhanger, he decided to end the show, which was huge in the 90s and early 2000s, on a cliffhanger. Then he got an opportunity to make a movie afterwards. There was a movie in the middle of the show too, but he also got to make one afterwards. Didn't resolve anything. Then he got the opportunity to make, I think, a second movie. Still didn't resolve anything. Then last year he finally got the opportunity to come back and do a limited series. Now Fox was very specific. This is like a 6-episode series. This is it. This is all the X-Files you're getting. So they put Chris Carter back in charge of it. And bear in mind, it's not like no good writers came out of X-Files. There's tons of them. You might have heard of one of them. His name is Vince Gilligan. He wrote a little show called Breaking Bad. So it's not like there aren't...
Not a fan.
So
just kidding.
You can't say there aren't people qualified to come in on X-Files, because
Right.
he wrote some episodes for that. The worst episodes of the new season were the Chris Carter episodes. They were terrible. They were fucking awful, and a retcon of even some of the more bizarre stuff of the original show. The best episode of the season was Mulder and Scully meet the were-monster, which if you haven't seen it and you're an X-Files fan and heard bad things about the season, ignore everything else and go watch that episode, because it is among the best X-Files ever to be, period. So now, Fox has come out and said that... Oh, by the way, Jake, you might not know this. That limited series ended on another fucking cliffhanger.
I didn't watch it. Of course it did.
Even more cliffhanger.
Have they ever actually seen, like, a real gray alien?
Yes.
I know they've seen, like, supernatural or weird or unexplainable shit, but, like, Mulder actually got to see, like, an alien.
They've seen babies, but there's also been theories like, oh, it's clones, it's things that the government's making to make it seem like aliens, but it's not. It's too convoluted and bullshit. That's the thing. Chris Carter has come out and said, people don't even want to see it end. There's no end. There's no end to the alien thing. It's just going to go on forever. And that's the thing. Chris Carter is stuck in this 90s, we need to keep this show running in perpetuity mindset, whereas modern television is very, we need to tell a story now, okay? We're going to tell a story.
Well, that's why Vince Gilligan was so successful, because he's like, okay, here's the beginning, middle, and end. We'll fill in the rest. This is what I want to accomplish in the arc. He knew how it was going to end. He's talked about this. Like, he doesn't know, I don't know exactly how, probably. I'm sure that changed and morphed over time, but, like, the fact that, spoilers, he was going to die at the end was always kind of the point. Like, it's an arc.
And you know what? He's doing something similar right now with Better Call Saul. If you're not watching Better Call Saul, it's very good. I don't know if it's Breaking Bad good, but if Breaking Bad's here, Better Call Saul is like right underneath it. It's a different kind of show. It's more a legal it is a crime drama, but it's a different kind of crime, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's very excellent, and seriously, it's supposed to be a 10-episode series this time. Carter's still in charge though, so I'm gonna watch it, but I'm not expecting anything from any of the episodes with his name on it.
Nah,
as writer.
What could even be as a person who watches X-Files and has watched all of them, what payoff could possibly make up for it at this point?
At this point,
like, have they ever fucked?
No,
there's like tension,
I don't think so.
and they get estranged, and then there's like more tension, and
They've I want to say in the last episode they kissed.
See, I don't know. Like, does he have to get abducted by aliens and his sister's there? Like,
No,
I
wait.
don't.
God, I only watched the new series once. Did they get married and then divorced in between when the show got canceled and brought back? Or am I
don't know.
misremembering that?
That's still a blue ball regardless, because you didn't get to see it. That's like skipping Jim and Pam's wedding.
Yeah, God, I don't know. Basically, what would happen at this point, if I don't care about the relationship so much, because even though there was plenty of development over the 9 years they were on the air, for some reason when the show got brought back, it all reverted back to basically season 1, where Mulder is crazy and she doesn't believe in the paranormal despite 20
Despite
years
seeing it.
Yeah.
It's like the Jews in biblical times going, I'm not sure if we should we do the calf thing? Should we do a golden calf? And God's like, I'm right here.
Yeah, I don't know. What would have to happen is basically, I don't know. I don't know what a proper ending would be. It's too big of a clusterfuck. There's no proper ending anymore. You'd have to be honestly, Vince Gilligan would probably have to come in and write the ending for it to make any sense and be satisfying. And I don't think that's happening. So there'll probably be a couple of good Monster of the Week episodes in there, but it'll probably be a shitty season.
How did they not give the X-Files to Gilligan?
I think Carter.
How do you not even wait for that?
I think it's part of Carter's contract, and he owns stuff about the X-Files too. So I don't think it's just I don't think Fox can do it without him. I think he owns some stake in it as a producer, so he has first say on that kind of shit. I think, but I don't know.
I don't know. That's a pride thing.
Anyway, enough about X-Files. Another X-related franchise, the X-Men. All right.
Yeah, that was decent. That's fine.
That's a good segue. James McAvoy.
Jesus.
I know. So James McAvoy, he's been doing quite a few roles recently. I think most recently he was in that M. Night Shyamalan film Split, which was all right. It wasn't too bad. I liked it. Did you see Split?
No.
It's not. It's very much a Shyamalan movie, but it's not terrible. It's watchable. You should check it out. Anyway, McAvoy, who's also been Professor X in sort of the X-Men Days of Future Past First Class prequel series, and New Mutants is coming out next year or the year after, and apparently he might not be appearing as Charles Xavier, which would mean we already, after only 3 films, are now going to be getting yet another Charles Xavier.
Do you think if they middle-age him, it'll be all right? McAvoy's actually in his late 30s, right? I don't know how old he is, but he's getting up there. He looks good for his age, regardless. But if you did like a 50, 60-year-old something, I guess that'd be fine. But you'd have to recast the whole thing again. Just let X-Men die and reboot it in the Marvel universe. But like tangentially, don't ever, please. Even you can even keep them in a pocket universe off to the side, because I don't think the Avengers and the X-Men make sense, because New York is right there and they didn't show up. Anyways, it just wouldn't make sense. Or if you could place them later on the timeline, but then
you know what I would do? If you really have to do X-Men and you're putting it in the MCU, what I do is downgrade the amount of mutants there are. It's not a ton. Like in the Fox universe, you get the impression that everyone might know a mutant, kind of like gay people. Everyone has a family member or someone.
It was an analog of gay or racism, and like AIDS.
Right. If you're gonna put it in the MCU, I'd make it much smaller, like much fewer people are mutants.
Yeah.
And Xavier is very protective over them, so he doesn't want them getting involved in big events, but sometimes they have to for whatever reason. You know what I mean? And they're very X-Men related. They don't go and fight Thanos. They fight, people trying to kill mutants specifically for some reason. I don't know, but that's how I do it. Anyway, what I think you got to do, you can't cast too old because you're going to get the Patrick Stewart comparison. You can't go too young because then you're just trying to do McAvoy again. McAvoy was a good choice, actually, because I think it's hard to follow Stewart because he's so quintessentially so many people's Professor X, because he's he very much gets it. He's good at it. But McAvoy, I believed, was younger Charles Xavier, but it was still a young Patrick Stewart Charles Xavier to me. So now you're kind of trying to reproduce a copy of a copy. And middle age is the only way to go, and it's gotta be different. He's gotta be a bigger asshole. For those of you who don't know, well, in the movies, Charles Xavier is very much a benevolent guy all the time, most of the time at least. In the comics, he gets a little darker sometimes, and he can do bad shit. A lot of that comes from more older material. I mean, the movies did influence the comics a little bit, but it does happen. So maybe make him a little bit more of a flawed character as opposed to omnipotent, ultimate, in charge of the school, I know what's best for everyone, rogue, or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to make the X-Men interesting, and I can't. The only thing, like, Logan is the best part, one of the best movies in superhero canon in general, regardless of universe, in a long time, and one of the best ever, probably. It's up there with Deadpool, Dark Knight, etc. Because the X-Men were gone. Like, they're boring. It's just, the interesting stuff is, like, a guy who lives a really long time with a guy who's a psychic and experiences everyone else's pain and can kill people on accident because he's going senile. And he's seizures, and then, like, Wolverine, his body's starting to slowly not heal because of the adamantium poisoning, so he's got scars, and, like, he quite literally wears pain as a coat, and it's like, that's great, that's fantastic, that's compelling, but, like, I need shades to see so I don't murder people with my kinetic energy eyes. Like, nah, I'm good. I'm from Africa. I make storms happen. I'm Jubilee.
Excuse me, Jubilee can make what the fuck did they call those on the goddamn 90s cartoon show? I forget.
No idea. It's basically glitter. I don't know. It's like firework glitter stuff.
I assume now in the comics, whatever Jubilee does is, like, they've updated it and it makes more sense. But if I remember correctly, in the cartoon, in, like, the first episode, she shoots it, like, in the face of one of the
Sentinels.
The Sentinels, and it basically just does this, and it's fine.
Yeah, it
doesn't do shit. Whatever.
I don't know. Beast isn't interesting to me. Gambit's interesting. Gambit has, like, a backstory where he was, like, a child thief and, like, an orphan. Like, that's neat. That's interesting. Just do one-off solo stuff. That's fine. I just think when they team up, it's not fun.
The funny thing is, meanwhile, Sony is so obsessed with getting a movie universe of their own, they're willing to tear apart the Spider-Man franchise into bits, even though it absolutely does not, warrant that. For instance, they just announced the casting of Venom, Tom Hardy, which is a great cast for Venom.
What?
I don't know if,
that's amazing.
Did you hear this? But it's in the Venom movie that's unrelated to Spider-Man. So
they have to get the rights. What they have to do is finagle the rights and put it in the same universe, and then. But that's. I can't think of a better cast for Venom. Holy shit, they nailed that. That could be a great movie, too.
Sony is so desperate to get a movie universe, they're tearing apart a franchise that has no right to be anything other than the thing focused around the main character, Spider-Man, whereas Fox has the perfect opportunity to have a universe with these separate movies, the X-Men, and they're not really doing it. In fairness, they tried. They tried X-Men Origins Wolverine. If that was successful, they were planning on doing X-Men Origins, Magneto, Rogue, they were going to do all of them. But, of course, X-Men Origins Wolverine sucked, so that didn't work out. But I still think that's pretty much the only route they can go at this point, because Apocalypse was a disappointment. I don't think people are really going to be waiting in line to watch just another X-Men movie anymore. This shit's been old since, since X3. I think people have been pretty sick of it. And then First Class was a little different. Days of Futures Past was pretty good. I don't know. X-Men's weird in that they sporadically will make a really good movie, but like most of it's just kind of meh, you know?
The last one was really shit. Like I didn't really like. The more I think of it, like it literally offered nothing.
Apocalypse, it was just generic.
Why cast Oscar Isaac if you're not going to use him? Have him act. It didn't make any sense to me, and I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of a storyline, and the best storylines that I can think of for X-Men are always when they're not at the fucking academy, and there's not like just one single threat. They're not on the jet. They're not in suits. You know, they're not jumping around spandex. Like a good, compelling movie would have them like Professor X just died. What do we do now? That's a good idea for an X-Men movie. You're at his funeral. The fucking place shuts down. Everyone's distraught. Wolverine left. What do we do? That's interesting. I'm interested in that movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
But can you imagine how Fox would make that movie?
Boring.
Yeah, boring as shit. But imagine they take a Logan tone with it.
Well, they did Logan though, so you can't.
No, I know, but I mean before Logan, like.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like, because Logan's like almost apart from all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They almost set it apart. Because the only reason Logan got made is because Deadpool did great. So I don't know. It's just maybe just a Professor X story. Just a Professor X story. I'm also fine with that, but you got to get a good guy. So I don't know. You could tell I'm pretty dejected by all things X-Men, mostly because it's in the 90s. Like when I was a kid, one of my favorite things. Like I had X-Men cards, like catalogs of them. They used to make the trading cards. I had like all of them. It was like one of my favorite things, and I loved the cartoon. That was fun. Like that cartoon dealt with shit though. Like the first episode, they had Wolverine's friend die, and they made up a character just to die. But that was still a thing. Like kids didn't deal with death back then in the 90s. The Power Rangers were as close as you got to any sort of strife. And I don't know. It was interesting. It was interesting to have a person actually grieve. And they did a good job. And I don't know, later on it gets a little kooky with the Days of Future Past and shit. But, like, I don't know. Do a good job with this.
I agree. Finally, I had one really good segue in there, so I gotta have a terrible one. We're gonna talk about Star Trek Beyond. We've talked about this a couple times. It's been in sort of development turmoil with pushing dates back, it being only on that CBS All Access, though internationally it is on Netflix, or it will be. Casting changes, directing changes, showrunner changes, tons of stuff. But the first actual trailer came out to Star Trek Beyond, and I'll give them this: it's a nice-looking show, Dutch angles notwithstanding. But what did you think, Jake? What did you think of the first look at Star Trek Beyond?
It looked really J.J. Abramsy, and that's fine, I think. A lot of people, and we talked about this after we watched it, we texted each other, and we're like, well, I kind of wish it was like before the other Kirk universe.
Yeah.
Like first Kirk. But this looks okay, and I don't know that to be true, but the way the Klingons look specifically makes me think that this is in the current cinematic universe, which is okay. And also, like, the technology kind of, I mean, there's an obviously different kind of
you know what it
techie
looks like?
change.
It looks like, and I applaud them for continuity, I guess. It looks like a mix between the Starship Enterprise from Enterprise, the Scott Bakula series, mixed with the new J.J. Abrams.
That's what I was I couldn't think of the why, but that's the connection that I know I've seen that. Yeah, that's exactly it.
So it definitely looks like an intermediary, which makes sense. It's between those two. I get it.
The shots look good. The effects are very clean for something that's only going on like the CBS thing. I really thought they were going to cut corners. They haven't. But you get a little dialogue and I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work.
Jake, are you not excited for the fully in-depth character that is alien that can sense death? That's going to be a 5-season arc.
Every episode is going to sense death, and they're going to be like, you've been wrong. Every time. We're all alive. And he's like, yeah, but red shirts. And they're like, you cannot make the red shirts think they're people, or they will stop dying for us. And then we have no stakes in the episode. I don't know. No, I just... I'm fine. It's not about the female protagonist. I don't give a shit. Rey is one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time already. But like, well, behind Princess Leia, she's just a badass. Rey's not a badass yet. It was more the way they just kind of like, well, I guess you're ready for your ship now. You could do it. You got a promotion. You start there, and it's like, have her be. And maybe they blew their wad on the previews, and that's like episode 8 or something. But like, I thought we were gonna have like, not in command from not commanders, but that might be the pilot. You know what I mean?
That was the rumor. That was what they were saying, but I'm guessing that just comes out of the original scripts. Maybe they changed it. Maybe CBS got a little too worried. They're like, we can't have a Star Trek show focusing on the first mate. People
No,
want the
that's
captain to be
amazing.
the main.
Imagine Riker being the main focus of every Star Trek
Well,
generation.
for the
episode.
first season, they switched it up. But see, that's also why Next Gen worked. It had a different dynamic than
Right,
the
but I'm
original
just
show.
saying, like, Riker was interesting enough at times. Like, he was the demons character. He had demons, and I don't know. He just imagine that, but better acting and a little bit better writing. Like, season 3 TNG. We don't talk about the other stuff. And then I don't know. I think the concept works, especially if the captain isn't Kirk. Like isn't Kirk-like or Picard-like. Maybe they're inept. That's an interesting Star Trek.
Sure.
A bad captain and a first mate that's good, and like the people rally around them. Like that's kind of why like the first 3 or 4 episodes of Band of Brothers. That's kind of how it was, and a lot of people like really like that. And later on, if you guys remember Band of Brothers, it was Chandler from Friends was the bad commander guy, and then they actually get another one later, but. Regardless, I think it just adds a nice camaraderie level to it, and then like halfway through, you're like, okay, now she's in charge, and that's fine. But it gives you chances to grow with a character, and I think that's the best part. Again, it comes back to the Vince Gilligan stuff. He took his time and let us experience the growth. Like by the end of Breaking Bad, none of the decisions he's making seem crazy because they're consistent with his character so far. But if you jumped from beginning to end, it would be crazy. And that's how you know you had a good arc. If the character wouldn't make the decisions they were making.
You know my favorite Vince Gilligan quote on like character-driven narrative and what he thinks about when he's writing and stuff? He said, I forget exactly when he said this, but he said something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, you don't have to like a character for an audience to be interested in what you're writing. You need the audience to understand the character and why they're doing what they're doing, which is basically exactly what you're saying in the arc and how that all unfolds. So motivation is far more important to the actions of a character than the actions themselves. You can have a character doing profoundly dumb or evil things as long as you get why they're doing it and can understand how they came to that. So, you know what I think would be a ballsy show for CBS to do since they have the rights to this anyway, but they will never do this? I would love to see a Star Trek show. But you never meet the captain or the bridge crew. It's
red shirts.
It's red shirts. They don't have to literally be red shirts, but that's basically the idea. It's the people who aren't officers. It's the private whatever. It's the bottom rung on the starship. And you know what? Sometimes red alerts will go off and maybe they never find what was that? What just happened? You know what I mean? And maybe they're dealing with their own problem in engineering. Well, galactic Greek gods are fighting with the bridge crew. You know what I mean?
That'd be interesting. You know what? And maybe like the captain's always like off screen or whatever, and then like they run into him once or her or whatever.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
It's like a big deal. Like imagine running into Captain Kirk.
You know what? Fuck it. You could
who's literally famous.
This almost makes it a worse idea, but you could even set it on the Enterprise with Kirk or the Enterprise with Picard and just never show those people because it's actually
a good way to blue ball people into watching more. But
yeah. The show has to be good on its own though, by the way.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'd watch that or maybe even like a Star Trek show that didn't take place on a ship.
Deep Space Nine kind of did that.
Well, no, I just mean like not even on like a vessel with a captain or like no. Like maybe aliens are the main characters, and they're like on a post for the Enterprise, and it's called like the Federation.
I want a Sorkin-esque political drama that takes place in the
walk
in
and
the
talks
Federation
all the time. 100% walk and talks. That's all it is.
And you know what? I want to see a whole arc on that show about, oh, we found a new planet and we're going to bring it into the Federation. What does that entail?
Yeah.
How do we deal with first contact with the species? And what are
first contact? Like, these are all really fantastic ideas that they just refuse to do because the formula is Captain Ship Adventure.
Yeah. And I love Captain Ship Adventure, but
but it's a lot.
There's more you can do. It's the same thing with Star Wars when you're like, it's another Skywalker, more lightsaber fights. You know?
Like, imagine instead of getting more Skywalkers, like, being a part of the Force, never seeing a Jedi again, and, like, we're exploring Mandalorian culture. Like, a Mandalorian that, like, gets displaced and put somewhere else, and he has to, like, deal. It's basically Drax the show, but, I don't know. Like, there's so many... There's such a rich culture there, and like if you ever played any of the video games, like Mass Effect, the first trilogy, it's great because the world is so rich. And like Skyrim and Fallout, like those are the reasons you like those games. The stories usually suck.
Yeah, and people talk about Star Wars and they say, and this is an actual concern people have, and I understand why. Star Wars isn't popular necessarily because of the universe. There isn't that much to be expanded on, and when you do, you get stuff like the EU, which was real bad for the most part.
Whoa. Red alert in the comments. Hugo just said the EU was bad. Here it comes.
Yeah.
Someone's going to say, General Thrawn.
I'm sure there's
Solo twins.
But you understand what I'm saying. When Disney, as it's expanding its Star Wars cinematic universe, it's going to be more and more difficult to find interesting stories. Star Trek has never had that problem. And while I'm sure there's plenty of shitty third-party, Star Trek material, the universe is generic enough. It's just sci-fi future, and humanity has its shit together for the most part. And we work with these alien races. Outside of that, it's very open. You can do whatever you want, So I think Star Trek, more than most other Star Trek shows, has a blank check to make almost any kind of show it wants in that setting. And the fact that we're getting this shitty dialogue in an admittedly good-looking show, but it's still the same old thing, I'm worried. That said, I'll still watch it. I'm more confident now than I was before the trailer, because it actually does look nice.
Yeah, I'll see what people say about it.
Yeah.
I'll probably watch at least the first couple episodes, and I'll either forget about it, it'll catch me, or someone will, like Hugo will say, you have to finish it. It's good.
Sure. So, finally, there was that DC thing I was going to remember, and I did. Hooray. Hey, Jake, did you see that the embargo on the Wonder Woman reviews has lifted?
The embargo on them?
Yes, there's generally an embargo, so people can't comment. Not the full reviews, but the social media.
Embargo's a weird word. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, where they're like, we'll show you the movie early,
I
but
hear
you can't.
Good things.
The social media embargo for reviewers has ended. And this isn't fans, by the way. This is reviewers specifically whose job it is to review movies. They've said mostly positive things. They've said, that was, it was a better direction. Good. They've said it looks like DC's attempting to steer the ship in the right direction.
Ooh.
I hope they're right. I hope they're...
who else tried to steer in the right direction?
Who?
The Titanic.
I guess you're right. Is it too little too late? I guess we'll find out when Wonder Woman comes out. But I'm a little bit more confident in seeing it now. That's good. Even, you know what? If the whole DC universe sucks and every movie they make sucks, if we got one good Wonder Woman movie out of it, I'd be like, okay, fine.
I want some Batman movies.
I want Batman too, but I'll take a Wonder Woman. We've had good Batman movies before.
Yeah,
we haven't had
more. I want the Batman so I can get the Nightwing, so I can get the Green Lantern or Green Arrow or Flash. I don't really need any more suit. I could never see Henry Cavill in clothes again, but Superman costume again, and I'd be perfectly fine.
Yeah, but I don't know. So that's that. So
it's not Cavill's fault, by the way. He's a good actor. He's just
Yeah, I heard he was good in that The Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie, which
He
I haven't
is
seen
good in
yet.
that. He's good in a lot of other stuff that I see him in. Like, you catch you when people get famous. This happened with Wolverine. What's his name? The fuck, Hugh Jackman. That happened with him. Like, he did that movie Australia, really fantastic in it. Prisoners with Jake Gyllenhaal. Have you not seen Prisoners? That's the best job he's ever done, and that
I
includes
haven't.
Logan. That includes Logan. Best job he's ever done is Prisoners.
Cool.
Fantastic.
All right.
So,
So I guess that's it. We'll be back either on Sunday or Monday to do the Doctor Who, because that's how it's been. I give a caveat because we've been late for the past like 3 weeks.
well,
So
I was super sick.
I know. I don't blame you. I'm just saying. That's why. You can always follow our social media manager on Twitter at @TheRealUnpop.
He can get outraged about Bill Nye.
Was he? He needs to chill the fuck out. He is way too high strung.
I use outrage. It's more like an old man sitting on his porch and going like, "Get off my lawn, Gook." He's
Are you thinking of Gran Torino?
Do you think Clint Eastwood thinks he's Dirty Harry now?
I don't. He definitely thinks he's the guy from Gran Torino, though. He hasn't. He pays a young Asian friend to hang out with him so he can pretend he's that character.
So he can go through some trials and be better for it.
And every night he gets himself shot so he can give his car to the Asian friend.
He dies a lot in those movies.
Yeah, well, he's old as fuck. Anyway, until next time, Hugo.
Jake.
Unpopular culture. Bye, everybody.